Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And yes, we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. How are you doing today, Dope?
Fantastic.
That is so good to know that, my good brother. I'm feeling fantastic myself. We had a great topic last week, which was money lessons that you may have missed, and I hope we covered some of those lessons that you may have missed. But this week we got a doozy. It's called "Are You Winging Your Financial Future?" And that's something you need to really, really ask yourself or ask anybody that is working with you with your finances, and it's going to be a good topic. A lot going on, though, in the world today. I mean, not just financial, but good gracious, so much going on. But as usual, as we start the top of the show, I just want to remind people, though, to please, continue to click on the like button and the heart button so that we can get more traction. It exposes us to more people. That's how it works. And we want you to put any comments that you may have in the comment box. And, if you have a comment about the topic we're talking about, or if you have a topic that you'd like for us to discuss, please put that in. Also, make sure you share this with your family and friends and call them up, tell them, get online and learn some good financial information. So, as we always start off, though, I want to start with the stock market. It's crazy, crazy, man. I mean, no one really can figure out, and I'm talking about the big boys can't even figure it out.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because when you look at the week, it looks like not much has happened except for Microsoft made a big jump. But if you look at the week, the Dow is pretty much flat. The NASDAQ is up slightly. Microsoft's up about 7%. They've gone up over 10% in the last couple of days. Their earnings obviously were better than expected. And today it was Meta that drove the tech stocks up. Tesla's down slightly. Apple's hanging in where it right about 167, 168, and Pfizer's down a buck. And again, as Bob said, it's been really crazy. But April has been a good month. We're about to close April. The Dow is up about 1.7% for the month. The Dow today had its biggest gain since January. And so it's still that thin line between fear of the Fed. And I think a lot of people expected more company earnings to be worse than they are. It's like 79% of the companies have posted favorable earnings, and everybody was expecting the effects of the Fed interest rate increases to have, wreaked havoc on the company's earnings. But it looks like most companies are doing better than expected, and it's probably going to continue. We'll see if we're going to close April on a positive month. It should. Right now it's up, but we'll see how things go tomorrow. There's some Fed data that's due tomorrow that will obviously have an effect on the market. So we'll see how it goes. But hang in. It's going to keep being volatile until things settle out.
It's so interesting because, like you said, some companies are doing pretty well. Some company earnings reports came in better, but that the market is still sluggish and moving slow. And
Well, no, but you say sluggish. I mean, it's up Dow's up 1.7% in April. It's not sluggish at all. On an annual basis, that'd be almost 20%.
Well, I mean, I wasn't talking about just the stock market. I meant the economy as a whole. Like they said, GDP was down. Despite that we still are teetering on a recession. I mean, despite all this good news, like you're saying, it's up for in April, but still they're talking about gloom and doom, but recession being right there around the corner. That's what I was just saying. It's just
and it's still a distinct possibility because you got to remember where things were over a year ago. Things were everything was a lot higher over a year ago, but it's all the effects of the interest rates increases. And when I said the earnings are better than expected, so it could be that the expectations were so low and it was easy to beat those expectations. So that's not
Right.
those earnings are better than last year or better than year before last. It's that they're better than what was expected. So yeah, we're definitely not out of the woods now. If you look at some of the indicators, a lot of the white collar jobs postings are a lot less than they have been. So things are and we've talked about the last couple of months, all the big layoffs. So things aren't good, but they aren't very, very bad either. So
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's such a mixed, you know, bag. You know, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. But just hang in there, you all, and remember, and that's what this show is going to be all about. You know, you got to really, really, really have a plan because no one can really know. But let me talk about one of my favorite markets, and that's the cryptocurrency market. Now, cryptocurrency market cap is only up 18 billion. That's only 1%. Last week, the Bitcoin, the number one cryptocurrency, still was down from like 30,000 of Bitcoin to 28,000, and now it's back up to $29,489 as of 7 p.m. today. That's a $1,218 increase from last week. That's a 4% increase. So it's really interesting how the Bitcoin is going up and just following how the market is going too. It's interesting following these measures. And Ethereum smart contracts, they actually are down $66, about 2%. Tether went up a penny. That's the stable coin with that cryptocurrency is pegged to the dollar. You know, and then the Dogecoin, Elon Musk and them is still, it dropped down a couple of weeks from 8 to the 9th spot, and it hasn't been moving. It's just at 8 cents. At one time, though, the Dogecoin was at 72 cents. And I know people who had it back in, I think it's 2017 when it was around there, and they were making over $100,000 just on their $1,000 or $2,000 investment, just for those increments of those incremental increases from 72 now to 8 cents. But I know a lot of people that made some money with Dogecoin until Elon Musk came on Saturday Night Live and was joking about cryptocurrency, and all of a sudden the crypto Dogecoin just crashed, and it hasn't been up since. Shiba Inu, which is one of those meme coins, which is it's a dog. It's almost like baseball cards. And that's just hasn't been moving at all. So that's what's happening in the market today with the cryptocurrency. But though, let's talk about and get into our subject today.
yeah,
Are you winging it?
It's interesting. When you look at most Americans, probably 75%, this is according to a survey, 75% of Americans are just winging it when it comes to their financial future. It means most people decline any financial help or advice, which is surprising. And this comes despite the fact that not even half of all adults will be able to cover an unexpected expense. So that's saying people don't have emergency funds, don't have money put away, but over 3/4 of all Americans manage their own finances. And most people are content on their own. They're happy doing it, but we kind of feel that could backfire. And before we go further, make sure you understand, we're not recommending you go out and hire somebody, but there's some knowledge that you have to have. And if you're not going to get it on your own, then you have to get it from somewhere. There's just so much information out there and so many different facets of finances that you need to know and understand as you move through different stages of life that you need to help. And, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And like I said, most adults couldn't even cover an unexpected $1,000 expense, but still most Americans are declining any financial help. And debt and living expenses going up. The importance of having goals and having an understanding on your finances is becoming more and more important as times continue to get worse.
Yeah, that's the God's honest truth, though. They say 75% of Americans manage their own finances with no help from a professional or online service. And that's according to a CNBC Invest in Your Savings survey. They say only 17% said they use a financial advisor. Now, many people neglect to save early on, but you must, set aside whatever you can and stick to, some kind of investment strategy. My strategy, though, I'm like 70-30. I'm in 70 in cash equivalents, bonds, and then 30% in the stock market because I'm
really. Oh
ready
wow,
to be
you are conservative.
Yeah, I told you, I'm conservative. And when the way the market turned, a lot of people portfolio went down a lot further than mine. But see, I got a large, amount in there. So that 30% is growing on a very large amount that's in stocks and growth stocks. But that's just me because I'm conservative. And I made out when the market took its turn last year and now, starting this year, I didn't take as much of a hit as everybody else did. But, for most people, lacking, the know-how, though, to handle their own finances comes at a high cost. And that's also a survey by the National Financial Educators Councils, one which I sit on their actual national board. And Americans said money mistakes cost them $1,230 on average last year alone. And they found not to mention that the toll it took on people's long-term savings. Now, over time, the stakes gets much higher. With debt and living expenses on the rise in much of the country, the importance of setting financial goals and sticking to them has never been any greater than today. Now, most people are coming up short and they're not spending enough time on planning their finances.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, Bob. Another study said 4 in 10 people who provided an estimate of their retirement savings actually said they guessed the amount of money needed to retire. And that's the same as it was 10 years ago, which is really, really kind of scary that you really don't have that number, figured out or calculated, or at least have some basis to make sure that it makes sense. And half the people, 50% of the people are more confident about their ability to save for retirement than they were 3 years ago, which is surprising because the last 3 years have been kind of crazy. And so it's kind of saying that even under the most optimistic assumptions, most workers are not currently meeting their retirement savings goal, which again, that's, if you aren't putting the time in, you aren't thinking it through, you're going to look up and not be where you expect to be. And so, most people should be saving 10 to 17% of your income if you plan to retire at 65. And that's about double of what most people are saving. So that's a little bit scary.
So let's just admit, though, most people are guessing. Actually, all of us are guessing, and it's okay. Now, you don't know what investment returns you're going to get. You don't know how much you earn each year through your career. You may not, right now, even be able to predict what career you'll be in the next 10 years from now. Now, much less specific position or what income you might be making. We don't know what's going on or what's going to happen with the Social Security. We don't know what's going to happen with the tax law. You likely don't know if you're going to get married or what that person's career will be like, especially some of y'all young people, or how many kids you're going to have, if any. So if you're trying to do projections out to 65 to see how much you be able to spend based on your current plan, yes, it's just a wild guess. But you know what? It's okay. As you get closer and closer to retirement age, the more these things will become known. You don't need to know them all right now. However, right now, early in your career, the focus of financial planning is mostly about building good habits. Now, it's true, you can't predict the future 30, 40, 50 years from now, but that's okay. It's all right. There are still a lot of things you can do right now that will improve your future, even if there's no way to know precisely how that future will look. It's not about whether your guesses are right or wrong. It's about making small, regular adjustments to your guesses over time as you get more information and clarity. So, I mean, don't feel bad if some of the things you planned didn't work out. It's all about making adjustments and getting information to be able to guide you through this financial mainstream. Now, we're going to talk about the next thing. We're going to talk about 6 signs you need a financial plan. And this is coming from the Society for Financial Education and Professional Development, their newsletter. They are a 20-year company that's been teaching financial literacy around the country for 20 years. They teach over 70 HBCUs. I'm a consultant with them, but they have this newsletter, and one of the topics we're going to discuss that they had in the newsletter is 6 signs you need a financial plan.
Yeah, well, and Bob, a clear financial plan is going to help you prepare for the future, brace you for the unexpected, and position you to pursue your goals. So we're going to tell you 6 signs that it may be time for you to get a financial plan. And the first is you're planning or just had a big life change. You had a new job, a new baby, a new house. All those are milestones that are signs that you should be taking a big picture look at your finances. When your life changes in big ways, it often brings with it changes in how you approach money.
So, number 2, you're worried about your finances in your future. Now, I know a lot of people on here are constantly worrying about their money. Is there going to be enough money when they retire? Are they going to be able to provide for their kids when they get older and have something for them? It's just, if money worries keep you up at night, a financial plan can ease your mind. Whether you have immediate worries or you're just feeling uneasy about tomorrow, or what tomorrow may hold, which none of us really know, but sometimes it creates so many anxieties. Now, you can regain control over your life by having a clear direction, your comprehensive financial plan. Notice why I say comprehensive, because there's a lot of people out there that say they're doing financial planning, but they just have just a little boilerplate software. They plug in your numbers and it comes out, it spits out, basic, but that's not comprehensive, but your comprehensive financial plan will not only help you see where you stand today, it identifies where you can make most of what you currently have. It will also help you plot a path. Now, I know a lot of you all know this, and we know, but what will ease your worries is to have a real good sound plan.
And the next one's number 3, and this probably applies more to the younger folks, maybe some older folks too, but you're making good money, but you're not sure where it goes. You make a good salary, but you're just not keeping track of where it's going. So if you wanted to turn today's income into tomorrow's wealth, you need a plan. You have to have a plan. You'll be able to take the money you're earning now and use it to create a secure financial plan for yourself and your family. If you don't know where your money goes, then and you're making good money, then it's not doing you any good. You should be tracking it, knowing what's coming in, knowing what's coming out. You setting milestones. You should be able to look at your money from one year to the next and see what progress you've made, and determine whether you need to change something in order to make more progress, or maybe you want to enjoy more. But you got to know where your money's going. You got to know where your money's going.
And that's so important. And the number 4 thing is you have financial goals, but you're not sure how to make them a reality. Now, we talk about financial goals and financial planning a lot on this show. And sometimes it's just a cliche because people they really, really understand or know their financial goals. And what I'm finding, though, with most people, they struggle with their financial goals because they don't sit down and think about what's important to them, mainly their values. you know. And once you understand your values and what's important to you, you know, is retirement more important to you? You know, is, you know, building a college fund more important, getting a house or getting a new car, but whatever it is, you know, a lot of people struggle with implementing and making sure, you know, that these goals become a reality. You know, it's like, you know, you might want to, you know, upgrade your home, or, you know, you might want to start a business. These things are all good, but sometimes the saying though is the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And a lot of people, you know, have some goals, but they don't know where to start or how to apply them.
Yeah, number five is you and your partner are fighting over money. And that's an obvious one. If you and your partner can't see eye to eye on money issues, a plan might be part of the solution. So if you meet with an objective third party, they may be able to help you both understand and get some kind of idea of where you're going, what you're working towards, and you both can be pulling in the same direction. And if you don't have a plan, it's a lot easier to have in your mind what you think is going on, and your partner have in their mind what they think is going on, and it can create all kinds of conflicts if you two aren't on the same page. You can do it on your own, or you can hire an objective person to sit down and lay out a plan for you that you both agree to, you both buy into, and then you can work towards it and set some goals and both be on the same page as far as reaching those goals.
Hey, Doug, do you see a lot of people? I mean, I find a lot of people talk about budgets, but they don't do it. They don't put it down on paper. I know a lot of people talk about financial goals, but they don't put it down on paper. And, you know, a lot of people try to hold it in their head, but I just want to remind people it is so important that you put these things down on paper, because they crystallize when you write them down, you know. And you really need to really talk to a lot of people, and they understand, but sometimes they don't actually take the steps to really apply their goals.
And,
So the
and you
number
know,
six though is,
before you go to, and the other thing with the planning is there's so many things that are coming up as you go through the different financial stages that you've never done before, you aren't aware of, and you have to have a plan so you handle those correctly. Whether that's saving for college, saving for retirement, preparing to go on Medicare, preparing to retire early. Those are all things you typically do one time, and you typically have not done that before in your life, and there are mistakes that can be made. It's a lot, you can prepare yourself a lot better if you have a plan where you've thought about all the things that can happen, all the things that might happen negatively, and you can prepare for those. But if you don't have a plan and they happen, then you're pretty much stuck. And that's the biggest worry. I think you got that whole continuum of people who don't do any thinking about it and people who overthink. But if you're at least thinking about it, you might be at least saving money. You might be at least thinking about the future. And then you get the people, the next step is putting it on paper, as Bob said. That's a huge step when you can see what's coming in, what's going out, how you're preparing for what's coming in the future. It just makes it all make sense. And you can really buy into saving money if you know this is what you're going to have at the end of whatever that period is. But when you're just doing it and you're not paying attention, and we always say that the worst thing is when you don't know what you don't know, you can really put yourself into a bad financial position.
hey, Doug, when I was doing financial planning for the Calvary group, the Acacia group, I found this, it's so interesting because we talk about this, like I say, and people talk about goals and financial plans, but I'm interested to know how many people on the show today, put in the comment box, has actually done a plan, has actually put it on paper. Now, no, I'm not trying to call you out, but I'm just trying to see, because, though, I'm throwing a lot of people that do not write goals down. that do not do write their budget down, and they struggle and they talk about it, and we talk about goals, but some people just, and my main thing, some people just don't take the time to do it, and to hold it in your head is tough. Or how many people have had a financial advisor? Because I was shocked that statistic, though, that only 17 people have ever used a financial advisor.
You were 25%?
Say it again.
You said only 25% use advisors?
17 from that survey. The survey I had said 17% of people, only 17% said they use a financial advisor. The CNBC Acorn Investment in Your Savings survey. And, okay. I see now, Nisi said yes. Yeah, cool. But I mean, I was just interested because I just know a lot of people struggling out there, or, they have too much month at the end of the money, and they say they understand planning, but I never see a lot of people put it down. But let me get to the last one, though, before I get off course. The sixth one, sign that you may, need a financial plan is your investments and finances are getting so complicated, it's difficult for you to keep track of everything. Now, as your money life gets more complex, it can be difficult to manage all your details without help. A financial plan developed with the assistance of financial advisors can help you identify the best ways to save, reduce your taxes, protect you against risk, and you'll be able to understand your total financial picture and take the steps necessary to be able to advance yourself and get you prepared, for the future. I know a lot of people, and I noticed, though, that I look at these surveys, and it's interesting that a lot of Black people do not use advisors because, and when I was doing it, was interesting because I would have a wife come and she would see the importance of doing a financial plan with me and my company. But when the husband came to them together, he had a whole different, he didn't want me to know everything because it was too personal. Or I know a lot of people were faking it to make it, and they didn't want people to know. So it's interesting. But Modestine said, I did a plan and implemented with my, all right, Modestine had a financial advisor. All right. Good for you, Modestine. But and we're not saying everybody has to have a financial advisor. But
hey, Bob, and the scariest part is, even for people like us who are, even if you say we're moderately financially literate, it's still things like the tax situation. Once you start buying stocks and just different things that you can do to enhance your wealth, that if you don't know, you won't know to do. And it's really not as simple as you think it is. And if you do have stocks, knowing when to sell, if knowing tax harvesting, knowing when to, offset a long-term gain with a long-term loss, and those kinds of things. And there's no way the average person, it doesn't come up in everyday life. And if you don't have someone helping you do that, again, you can make a lot of mistakes, and you won't know you made mistakes because you're oblivious to it. But it's becoming the tax code is so complicated. And it's like we're going to talk about like trust and wills and all that kind of stuff, and how complicated that is. And people, if you don't know, then you're going to make mistakes. It's that simple. You're not going to do the right thing by not knowing. Very seldom.
And not only though you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big one for me. So many people who've missed out on the before last year, the 10-year market, bull market for 10 years, and people were sitting conservative in cash and cash equivalents. Now, back then, I was more risky, though. I had to flip. I had 70% stocks and 30% cash equivalents, back then. So I caught that market. But so it's so important, you all. And by the way, you don't have to have a financial advisor, but talk to some of your friends who are very good with their money and find out some of the things that you are doing because if your money is not growing, the time value of money, it inflation and prices, the cost of goods can eat through what you think you have a good savings. But if it's not growing, it can eat through it, or some kind of event happens, or medical events. Though there was a survey they just did, FICO did, and the lowest credit scores are in the South. I'm talking about all the way across from Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, coming all the way across the floor. The lowest scores, and a lot of Black people are in the South. So that was driving, right? But it wasn't just Black people. You know what was driving the poor scores, though? People's medical expenses, events that they were having that was just crushing their finances because they wasn't prepared for those catastrophic costs. And then, a lot of the states down in the South didn't accept Obamacare. And I was so shocked at the credit score. I'm talking about scores lower than 640. That's when you're doing not good, if your credit score is lower than 640. So it's so imperative that you take the time, you all, to plan. So one of the things we want to talk about is there are 7 steps.
You didn't do number 6.
Oh, yes, I did. I talked about, said, that your investments will become.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah.
I did. And I talked about it. I covered that. So I'll take the first one, though.
Okay.
Now, there are 7 steps of financial planning. And I know we've, talked to you about doing a plan and thing, but we just want to hone in and give you some things that you can use, that you can go forward. Define your short and long-term goals. The financial plan has always been based on financial goals that you want to achieve. And it's in short term is usually 6 months to a year. Long term is either, 3 years or more. Sometimes people break it into, short term, mid term, and long term. But long term is usually 5 years or more.
Okay. Number 2 is think about me. Get your eye shades and your armbands and feel like an accountant, but audit your current income savings and long-term savings and investing plan. Once you set your goals, lay your money out, look at what you got coming in, what you got going out, what you have saved, and see if your goals are attainable. You got to make sure you can reach your goals based on your current financial situation. So it's just like in health, they always talk about know your numbers. Well, the same thing works in finance. Know what you got coming in, know what you got going out. Know if your goals are realistic, if you can meet it. And you can only do that by looking at what monies you have coming in, what monies you have going out, and what monies you have put away for the long term.
Now, like I said before, most of our projections are guesses anyway. Nobody can really predict what's going to happen 30, 40 years from now, 10 years from now. But you must address shortfalls and be able to address your goals, because that's why I find most people struggle with making the adjustments. They get stuck on one thing, and if it's not working, but they still just get caught on just the bias of now. So once you've assessed your current income, like Doe said, and you're spending your savings, you need to adjust your plan or your spending to make the math work for your plan. It's all about the numbers, you all. And numbers don't lie, people do.
And since you don't know the future, and nobody knows exactly what's going to happen, you have to account for multiple scenarios, okay? And say, okay, if this happens, then this is what I'll do. If that happens, then I'll adjust my plans and do this. And so you got to be flexible because nothing's going to come out exactly like you think it is. So your plan has to be adaptable. It has to account for different scenarios. And that way you'll be ready when things don't go exactly like you expected. You'll have a plan in place and you'll know what to do.
You got to develop a comprehensive financial plan. This is what I mean by a comprehensive financial plan. Once, like Dodie said, once you go through and set up your goals and you have the ability to meet them through your savings, and you know how much you're going to save, how much you're going to have in your emergency fund, how much you're going to be investing. Then it's time to develop a solid plan on how you will make the progress month to month. Literally comprehensive means putting it down, putting it in writing, accounting for every penny, all the money coming in, all the money going out. You know, what are the things important to you that you want to plan in the next year to 3 years? Because if you're going to need money for things immediately that's going to happen in the next 1 or 3 years, you can't be risking a whole bunch of that money if you're going to be needing it in 1 to 3 years. Now, if there's other things that are like long-term goals, and you're not going to be needing doing the things, you might want to start thinking about, you know, putting into your investments into ETF, exchange traded funds, you know, or mutual funds. But you must get a comprehensive, you know, down to the penny, down to the plan. When I mean comprehensive.
Okay, once you got your plan implemented, you got to monitor it to see how you're doing. Okay, track your progress monthly, annually, and so you don't get behind. Or even if you don't want to be too far ahead, maybe you should be taking more of that money and enjoying yourself. But you want to make sure you stay on track to what you're trying to do. Okay, you don't want to look up 5 years from now and you're not even close. So try to monitor it on a regular basis to make sure you're on course for where you want to end up.
And I know it sounds pretty straightforward, but usually the most difficult step, though, is what I said earlier, is implementing it and then staying on top of it and monitoring it month to month. Because I remember, Doug, you said, you know, you look at the stock. How often do you look at the stock market, Doug?
Oh, I look at it during it. I'm retired with nothing to do, so I check pretty often.
How often do you look at your checking and savings accounts?
And I look at my savings account at the end of the day once the market's closed, just to see what it is. But my checking account, and we'll talk about this later, but I use credit cards a lot. So whenever I charge something on my credit card, as soon as it posts to my credit, as soon as it posts to the credit card, I pay it off. So I end up checking fairly often, but I'm an accountant. I'm a numbers guy. That's what I do. So I'm probably not average when it comes to that.
How often do you look at your credit card statement?
Never, because I pay it off. Balance is always zero.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, good one.
I don't have to check my statement. I just go on the app, look and see when something posts, and then I pay it off. I make sure I get my money or my points first, and then I pay it off.
Right.
But again, hey Bob, one more thing before you hit the last one. And even if you don't want to do any of this planning, at least talk to someone who's gone through what you're about to go through, who can tell you some of the pitfalls. Things like planning, paying for college. There's a bunch of things you ought to do if you got kids going to college, from FAFSA to applying for scholarships to there's a bunch of things that you only do once. Obviously, you do it more if you have more than one kid, but the first time you do it is the first time you've been through it. And we probably didn't do that with our parents, but you need to do that with your kids. So even if you don't want to plan, at least discuss financial topics with somebody who's been through what you have to go through, so you can have an idea of what's going to happen, so you won't make some of the brutal mistakes that you'll make from not knowing.
And the second one, though, is once again, you know, adjusting goals and your other financial plans as circumstances changes. You know, now the other one earlier was talking about shortfalls in your spending and your savings, right? And making those adjustments. But this is actually talking about, you know, your financial planning that can be affected by the loss of income or big promotion, you know, new additions to your family, failed investments that you need to, you know, not hold anymore, you know, take the losses on them. Like I said earlier, medical emergencies and disabilities, you know, being able to, you know, you got to make these kind of adjustments for these kind of catastrophic events, and even your own personal reassessment of what matters to you. A new approach may be required. So be willing, once you have that plan, you have it down, be willing to look it over and be willing to make changes that come up to life events. Um, so so Joanne said, I check my checking account daily as well. Yeah, because there's so much fraud going on. You really, really need to be looking into your the accounts and savings account and investment accounts, even your 401k plan, because there's so much fraud these days.
That gets into having the alerts. You gotta know when somebody hits your account. You have to nowadays.
Garnett says, I have an excellent credit rating, yet this company keeps calling me, trying to get me to use their company to improve my score. Scam or what?
It sounds like a scam.
Sounds like a scam to me,
Yeah.
I get calls for my house now. I don't know how many people get that. So there's some listing going out there, and they said, "Oh, a house is sold in your neighborhood. Are you thinking about selling your house?" And I get called. I mean, there's so many scams. I get calls about, because I have a business, financial education business. They keep calling about, "Oh, you qualify for employee income, and we can get you $25,000 to $50,000." And I'm like, man, I've never had this many people. And Garnett, that's a compliment that you have good credit, and they coming after you to see more. So kudos to you and having good credit.
Hey Bob, and another good one they do now with people who are working is they say they are headhunters, and it will help you find a job, and they get all your information to use to steal your identity. And that's, I mean, back 15, 20 years ago, if a headhunter would call, you typically talk to them. They tell you they have a great opportunity at some company in your area of finance, and they may know a little bit about you, but there's so many scams people use to get information from you. You have to be leery of anybody who calls you that you don't know. They are getting better and better at scamming people.
Yeah, and we're going to have another show on that too, though, on scams and identity theft, because there's so many people, and now with AI, this artificial intelligence, they targeting you and got computer algorithms that can call you up, and it could sound like you. Look, they said it could sound like your kid's voice, talking about, oh, help me, mom, I'm down here in the Bahamas and I'm stuck. I'm like, what? I mean, it is off the chain. So, this recap, though, what we talked about, because this was all about, are you winging your financial future? We wanted to give you some tips and some things on financial planning so that you can make sure you put these things to pen to paper. So let's let's go to the video, to our summaries and takeaways, though.
Okay, and the first one, it kind of sums up the whole show. If you're winging it, it's a sure plan to fail. It's you aren't going to make it by accident, okay, unless you win a lottery or get a huge inheritance. If you're just not paying attention to your finances, you're probably not going to end up where you want to be.
The next one is, you need to understand your money. Your money, not nobody else's, not the Joneses, not keeping up with the Joneses, but you need to understand your money. And the more knowledge, that's why we say, man, read some newsletters, go out on Fidelity, go out on Vanguard, go on T. Rowe Price, go on E-Trade. They got so many articles. Go out on the Kipling, which me and Dope look and gets a lot of information to help you understand your money and be able to manage your money. Because remember, the bottom line is, if it's nothing that you get out from us in these shows, we hope the one thing that you get, that you learn how to control your money and not let your money control you.
Yeah, third one is identify and prioritize your goals. Okay, once you understand your money, you got to set goals and figure out where you want to end up. You got to look and see where you want to end up, and you got to prioritize those. And so you put the funds where they need to be so you can end up where you want to be.
And a sound financial plan gives you peace of mind. It helps the predictability, like we said. I mean, can everybody predict the future? But it can at least help the predictability, and it can help the probability of less things happen, catching you off guard, like, a future shock to your finances because of some kind of event that happened, like the pandemic, or any other catastrophic event. So it really helps you all, takes the stress, helps you to really, really, because there's no way that you can enjoy your life if you don't have peace of mind. And finances is one of the things that usually keep us up at night. So,
hey, Bob, and one of the things that really drives me crazy is, I told you before, I'm in the process of working through a trust and all that stuff, but the amount of money that poor people have probably lost with their money going through probate and lawyers getting really most of what you have saved, and you think, you die with whatever you have, it go to your heirs or your kids, your grandkids, whoever. But the thought of lawyers capturing most of that money through probate is just scary. And that's, I know, as and I'll say poor people as opposed to saying black people, but folks who don't know, who don't have the information, don't have the knowledge, and don't have a lot of money, if they do die with some money and they don't have the proper things in place, what they have gets sucked up in the system. It doesn't get passed down. So if you have money and have knowledge, you figure out ways to shelter your money, to keep it from going through probate, to keep it from having to pay tax on it, and it gets passed down to that next generation. And that's been going on since the beginning of time here in this country, and it just perpetuates. The folks who have money, and the folks who don't have money don't have money. And a lot of it is just lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, and in this case, we can say lack of taking the time to learn on your own so these things don't happen to you.
Lack of planning, plain and simple. And Dope, we're going to have a show on estate planning, but more so about trust, because a lot of people know in some states, though, a will does not stop it from going into probate.
It goes through probate. It's still, yep.
Yeah, but a trust trumps all of that. And we need to understand that. We're going to have a show about that, you all, because you need to know about those things, because I've seen so many people's families get torn apart because they wasn't prepared with the death. But that's part of financial planning, you all. So we hope you all enjoyed the show today, because we talked about a lot. And one of our biggest things is all about, preparing. And in order to prepare yourself, you got to have the knowledge, you all. So this is our 98th show. We're heading to show number 100. Can you believe that?
Wow, that's a shocker.
Yeah, man. And look, and on Facebook, it tells me like some people are legacy followers of us, like Modestine and Joanne and Garnett and my sister Linda, Nolia. And we like to give a shout out to everybody who's always coming out and listening to us and using this information and helping other people. Modestine, now, what's up? Nisi, Dodie, Joanne, Modestine, Linda, Garnett, Nolia, Rodney L. Madison Sr., TheNoteExperience.com. I'm telling y'all, if you want to look for another investment, learn how to hold mortgage notes and work them to your advantage. And my sister, Gloria. Hello, Gloria. How you doing? Gloria Rena Kinzer Browner. So once again, thank everybody for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat channel, same bat place. Dope, any final words?
No, I think we covered it today. Just you
Good.
got to know. You got to know.
Yeah, be in the know. So thank you all and have a wonderful weekend. And we'll be seeing you next week at the same time, 8 p.m., the FITT Show, financial information for the day and tomorrow. Please share this information.